just thought I'd take a short break just to let you know about becoming a Breakout Bestie. So we've launched a brand new subscription service for the small businesses that need us in your pocket. So why do you need to become a Breakout Bestie? Well, it's just a monthly subscription that gives you access to us when you need us. There's a closed group where you can ask us any question you need. There's also an anonymous posting on, so if you've got clients in the same group, you can ask us anything and we'll get back to you. Sometimes that'll be a quick answer, other times it might be that we need a bit more of an in-depth chat. There'll also be posts and information on the latest trends, the latest strategies for social media, upcoming things from HMRC that you may have missed, just anything you need to make your life easier to run your business. You'll also have access to our client base and money off discounts and vouchers for various services we've got coming out. This is brand new, it's only just been launched, so have a look, go on our website under Besties and sign up soon. Because we'd got the idea of what we wanted to do with it, and actually then we came out and didn't realise how big the rooms were.
We drew a plan and it was a lot smaller, wasn't it? The footprint of what we could actually do. And I remember the toilets being in a slightly different place to where the toilets are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and no space. We were like, we could do this here and put that there. No, we can't. There's no space for that. However, the podcast recording studio is actually bigger than I thought it was by the time we'd measured it and how many people, how much tables, chairs, etc. And the same with the meeting and training room, actually. I think that's 12 people comfortably.
Oh, easy.
Get in there straight away. Hi and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hello and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now, speaking of which, we are starting a mini-series about a brand new business that Liam from Record and Repurpose.
Hello, everyone.
And I are opening in, hopefully, just under when this goes out in a couple of days, so it'll be the 1st of June, called Creative Spaces. So this is our mini-series within the podcast of Creative Spaces, ups and downs, starting a new business, our journey, and what we will be doing.
Yeah, and I think, like, as well as us just kind of talking out our journey so far, it's aimed at, like, inspiring somebody else, isn't it? So if somebody else has that business idea, gives them a little bit of an idea about what actually might go into starting a business.
Yeah.
And I think with this one, we're actually going to have a retail space as well. I say retail space, like a physical location.
Yes.
And I think, certainly from my experience before, having just started Record and Repurpose, it was from my bedroom, and it was me going out to places. So it's certainly been different for me, but
same.
Hopefully, and you started out that way as well.
Yeah. So my original business started 20 years ago. I was doing bookkeeping on the side for people, as a side hustle. And then 8 years ago as a virtual assistant from home, but I'd go and visit them. And then, because Breakout's only 3 years old.
Oh, okay, right.
So although Breakout started as a new business, it wasn't a new business as such. It was under the same umbrella of the limited company, and I was doing the same work. It just meant I had a physical space.
Okay, so you had a bit of traction before you were able to...
Yeah, so and I think will be the difference, is I already had the income, so I knew the rent would be paid, the outgoings would be paid, I could buy all the desks, the equipment, everything I needed, and do the changes I needed to do to the space out of money I'd already made through the business. Whereas this is we'd got nothing.
Start a
new business, hey! So the idea come from, I was approached by a neighbour in the village who asked, do I know of anyone who would like to use this space, rent this space, and went to show me round, and then came back, and Liam had happened to be here, so I was like, this would be good. We could have it as a kind of, where did it start? Podcast? Somewhere to record the podcast.
I think that's the way it started. Like we unfortunately lost Sudbury because of whatever reasons that happened, and as much as we love Melford's breakout office space, for a podcast,
it's not quiet.
It's not quiet, is it?
No.
Like the amount of little, I'm just dropping off this parcel.
Yeah.
Can I leave this leaflet here?
Other desk hires.
I need to book an appointment.
Yeah.
Is Andy in? Like it's full on, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So we didn't have a space. We were looking for a space, and so we've basically taken on a whole new business because we need one room. This is what it sounded like now.
Well, I'll throw in like kind of, I'd been kind of in my mind thinking about getting a studio space as well. Purely for what I said a minute ago, is like, if I'm not going to somebody's location, it's literally me at home. So like I wanted a professional space, but I think selfishly for the podcast, that was an ideal solution, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the space has got exactly that. It's got an ideal podcast room. It's then got 2 photography spaces, and it's got a meeting room which would comfortably seat 12 people. So a meeting/training room. So we discussed it, as with all my ideas, for all of about 5 minutes, and then decided to go for it. So the next, once we'd sort of, obviously Liam come and looked at the space as well, we looked around it, got some ideas, literally sat with a big bit of paper and drew it out, wrote it out, and then went away and did some research.
I think with the space as well, I think 2 things we did that perhaps is a bit of advice for maybe somebody if you're looking for a space yourself, is we went over and looked at it when the previous tenants were in, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that gave us a good idea, and that gave us that little bit of, let's explore this a bit more, see where this will go. And then we have actually since gone back, haven't we, and properly took some pictures, measured it out.
Yeah, now it's empty.
Because it like looks different.
Yeah.
It looks completely different. And then it kind of opened up a few different avenues of how we're going to use it.
Yeah.
So I think that's perhaps a bit of advice just to send your way.
Yeah.
If you are looking at space, try and look at it absolutely as is, but if you've got the opportunity before it comes available as a blank canvas, because then that might help you take some measurements.
Yeah, we took because we'd got the idea of what we wanted to do with it, and actually then we came out and didn't realise how big the rooms were. We
drew a plan and it was a lot smaller, wasn't it, the footprint of what we could actually do. And I remember the toilets being in a slightly different place to where the toilets are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and no space. We were like, we could do this here and put that there. No, we can't. There's no space for that. However, the podcast recording studio is actually bigger than I thought it was by the time we'd measured it, and how many people, how much tables, chairs, etc. And the same with the meeting and training room, actually. I think that's 12 people comfortably.
Oh, easy.
Get in there straight away. So before we signed and agreed it as well, we did go away and do some research. We looked at all the traditional ways of Googling and looking at other spaces. So on Instagram, on Facebook, you know of a couple of places already.
Yeah.
And the majority, I think the nearest podcast recorded studio is Norwich.
I think Norwich, there might be one in Essex somewhere, but it is purely podcast. It is like literally just a dedicated space, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think where we were looking for stuff, you could find things that were a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but where we're going with it, it's kind of that umbrella, like all things to all creatives, like
one-stop shop. So you can do your photography there, you could do video recording there. So you've got a space to do everything you need to do for your business. So photography, training, workshops, desk hire if you need to sit and focus on the photography you've just done, videos, podcasts, whatever it might be. So you can bring all of that under one umbrella, because ultimately there's nothing like that outside of London.
Yeah, and even in London, I think it's
one or the other.
It's one or the other. It's like focused. You could probably get away with doing something, but actually, with the space that we've got, it's quite versatile. It's, you know, we could have somebody upstairs recording a podcast and some photography going on downstairs.
Yeah.
And potentially a meeting going on as well in the other opposite end of the upstairs space. So yeah, I think it's certainly quite unique in that sense.
And we then have spoke to a load of other business owners, people we work with, of what their experience is. And I think the common theme from that was a case of a lot of people saying regarding the meeting and the workshop space, it's really hard to find a meeting and workshop space. It's just out the way, uninterrupted, that they can book for either by the hour, half day or full day.
Yeah.
But also a case of photography and stuff. They're kind of makeshift in a corner of the workshop or in a corner of a room or whatever it might be.
Or relying on the weather.
Yeah.
Getting rained off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of then we've gone through the process of what's the problem, because then we can provide the solution, which I think that's the biggest thing in when you're starting a small business, whatever that might, whether it's a product business or a service business, you need to find what problem you're solving, because then that ultimately will drive all your content and your promotion and marketing. But also you can easily talk to people and find out, well, what's that? Oh, we've got a solution for that. So it's more sellable or easily sellable. That's not good English, is it?
I think like finding that audience and finding that, you know, sellable. I'll go with sellable. I'll take that on. But I think the thing that made us think actually this is going to be a success, and, you know, touch wood, we haven't opened yet, but
it will be.
We are putting those good vibes out there. But we've got like the photographers that we've spoken to. Yes. They like really struggle with getting a space, a location, and they're really keen to work with us and to hire that for their clients. And we offer them like an in-house photographer that can come with the space as well as a dry hire. But also when we've been talking to other people as well, we've just been like floating the idea out to various people, and people we didn't even realise were like, oh, actually, had you thought about that idea? Because the clients that I work with would actually like some video showcases shot and things like that. So I think that research piece was really smart.
I think as well, it gives people, like you just touched on, the opportunity to do what they wouldn't have thought of or would do for their business as well. So they kind of, you do what drives money, don't you? Ultimately, your business will be, and I think I said that in a previous episode, of just get up and do the service, sell the product, get the money in, because that's all you want. So all of the niceties, so getting good, like I sat here and batch recorded like 20 reels on Friday, which was fine because we were closed, no one else was in here. I'd done my research and my audio, so it didn't take me long at all. So then I've got content for the next month or so. Well, actually, when do people take a step back and have that opportunity? I've just said it was outside of office hours, so I've then technically done it in my spare time. I do have the space, but I was more productive because of that. If you actually booked some time, said, right, I'm going to do all my product photography or all my lifestyle or all my headshots or whatever it might be, and it will be available as a dry hire or with one of our contacts photographers, you will get that work done, and then you can have content. You could, in a couple of hours, you could have content for days, weeks, and up to a month. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other benefit there, I mean, you mentioned you were closed, so like no one could disturb you, and I think that is not only customers coming in and doing the work that you wanting to do, but it's also potentially like your colleagues kind of asking, oh Farley, can you just help us with this, or I've got this question, and that kind of thing. I know from previous experience where we've recorded interviews and things like that, and where it's been in an office environment, although we've kind of, you know, title, like put a notice on the door to say do not enter and stuff, people will try and bend the rules and have that and I think that, you know, even if like you're planning a meeting and things as well, it's nice to have a change of environment too, I think. not have to worry about like the clutter or like, you know, where's the space that we're going to hold this. I think that we've got so many different little strings to that space's bow. So,
but I think also then it gives people. I did a story the other day about what everyone's struggling with at the moment in their own business, and it's time. And it's not time; it will be time management. So the first thing when someone says, "Oh, I don't have any time," it's like show me what your screen time is. Show me what you actually doing on your phone, and it's blocking out that time. So. And ultimately, if you're then booking a space to, right, okay, I'm going to do all my, whether it is recording video, reels, podcasts, photography, as well, like you say, with people in the background, it's really hard to do. I've really struggled doing reels. I just feel like an idiot. Not to the point it stops me posting them and doing it, because it's what I've become known for.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's then got me clients, they want to know not necessarily how I do it, but other ways of doing reels.
Yeah.
But it still stops you doing it. You can't, it's just not the same. So if you're in that closed space for whether it's an hour, 2 hours,
just focused on it, it will make you so productive. And then it's another problem solved of just whether you schedule your social media or whether you do it on the fly. However it is, you've got that content there ready to go. So you've got a folder of pictures, videos, whatever it might be, ready to go. And I think that's what, speaking to so many business owners every single week, that's what they struggle with ultimately. So then we're providing that answer to them and that solution to them. And it's almost preventing that firefighting activity of like, oh, panic, God, we got to put something out on social media to stay relevant. It's doing that, dedicating that bit of time and effort.
Yeah.
And then having that solution so you can kind of feel comfortable that that's taken care of and it's not like an afterthought and you rush in and you can show yourself in your best light, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's the three sort of good, better, best, or however you want to word it in terms of booking it and having that space. And then the ideas evolved from that in terms of then we've got a training room, so people could dry hire the training room and meeting room, but also then we put on courses. So we put on, you want to start a podcast? Liam can teach you. He will do a day, how to start, what to do on a podcast. You want to plan all your content, plan all your marketing, schedule it so you've got a full marketing plan for your business. Farley will do that in half a day. I say half a day, a full day. You'll want to absolutely pull your hair out. It'll give you a headache. But it's, again, that productive time of, like you just said, if you're firefighting or scattergun approaching, it's taking it right down to, do you know what? Come here for 3 hours. You can either plan and schedule or plan and put the plan together of what you want to do. Come back and book that photography. But it then keeps you accountable because you've spent that money and you've organised it to then, well, I've spent it, I've invested it. So it's not just it's not just an expense, it's that investment
in yourself,
in your business for your marketing as well.
Absolutely. And I think, so if we kind of come back to that idea, if, you know, viewers are watching this for thinking they want to start their own business and trying to take some inspiration off of us.
Yeah.
I think kind of that's thinking about what we can offer people, isn't it? We're thinking about the solution that we can provide that will be helpful and that people will want.
Yeah.
But then also the different levels of that as well. We've not just gone, right, it's a space you can hire. We've thought about those other variations like the training, like having the expert involved. So it's almost thinking about, from somebody's point of view, if they're starting their own business, what products can you offer? Not just a single solution, like what are the add-ons, what are the best kind of, what's the premium level, what's the base level, is there anything in between that? And so you can have that variation for different kinds of people who want your support.
And also people that don't necessarily, they've started, they don't need that day one support. They're very successful. They've got, whether it be a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel, whatever it might be, that they're doing really, really well, but they've outgrown their space. So they don't want to do it at home. They want to take all of their stuff. So they don't need us.
Yeah.
They just need a space to regularly book to say, right, okay, I'm going back to in the days of Zoella starting her halls of, okay, which started in her bedroom.
Yeah.
she'll have an area somewhere now in her house, or she uses her house obviously as a prop and area. But unfortunately, my house don't look like a show home. Yeah. You could come and record this at my house. Yeah. So it's then that, well, where do you want to do it? Well, I want to take it. That's my next investment, is I want a certain backdrop. I want it to look like this. I want my videos to be consistent. So then again, it's going back to that dry hire of, they don't need us, but that's their way of taking their business to the next level.
And they can come and produce their content. They can come and record it in the way that they want, bring their own props, so it makes it feel like their space as well, not just, there's the same place again, like kind of mixing up the look and the feel of it to suit their medium. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited about it.
It's exciting. And I think then it's a case of, it's still at that space where we're open to ideas of, these are the kind of, yes, it's a dry hire, yes, it's with one of our experts. Breakout's still a place where if we can't do it, we know a person, so we can recommend someone to do it. So we've got so many more contacts that we don't necessarily advertise or talk about all the time unless someone asks or comes to us with a specific problem. Or it is a case of, you've got your own team, so it's a whole team to come along. So it's a bit like that's with the meeting and training room. That will be a desk, 12 chairs, a whiteboard, a projector, everything you need to successfully run training. Yeah. So you book the entire space. It's all yours, whether it's half day, full day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, whatever it might be. But we're on hand to help with that. So it takes the headaches out of so much. And I think that's kind of the idea of sort of the name behind it, of creative spaces. It's that space to be creative. So you've got certain people and us on hand to help to take all the headaches away, because there's nothing worse. You're not creative when you're stressing or worrying about all kinds of other things. Yeah. So strip that back. It will be really, really interesting to hear from anyone who's like, oh, that'd be amazing to have in Suffolk. Oh, I'm down the road, or, oh, I travel for London for that. Yeah. Or how does that compare? Or could I use it for X, Y, and Z? So we'd be really interested to hear from anyone about that, because it is what it says on tin. It's a space,
and for you to be creative with making it work for you.
Yeah, exactly that.
So I think that's kind of the inspiration of the creative spaces part. But I think the other clever thing that you come up with, yeah, I know. Dust station.
It must have been a good day.
The coffee had just been consumed, and you were fully awake and aware. Yeah. But the clever thing that I hadn't thought about, I just thought our creative space is great. But you said let's put a bit of SEO branding at the front of that name by putting Suffolk. Well, I think we started Long Melford, didn't we?
We started with Long Melford, and then we thought, well, it's a bit too niche. Yeah. So then we said Suffolk Creative Spaces, because it is the only one in Suffolk. To be fair, probably the only one of its type in East Anglia. Yeah. I think we found one somewhere up north.
Manchester way, I think. Something like that.
Similar, but nothing to this extent. So, I did do that.
So, and again, so just thinking if it is that you're taking inspiration and notes of this, thinking about your name. Yeah. Can you put something that's a bit searchable in there?
Yeah. Well, are you dictated to by your location? Yeah. Because if you're creating a product or creating a service and it's international, then you wouldn't want to use your location. If it's very niche down by location, then you'd want to throw your location in there. Yeah. And I think that's our SAT again. And yes, we've been off and Googled, researched, looked at different social media platforms and different other places, but also sat with a big piece of paper and pens, because I think that's really important. I think that's what people don't talk about. Yeah. They don't talk about that phase of when you're starting a business of like, okay, we've got a blank space, got a blank piece of paper. What are we going to do with it? Yeah. And we wrote things down. I don't know if we wrote anything we crossed out or forgot and went, nah, that won't work. If we did, it was so bad and forgot.
Yeah, or we've just decided that, no, we can't have had that idea to begin with. But I think it it certainly evolved. Like, it did start off of as a podcast space, and then we suddenly thought, hold on a minute, there's this opportunity, there's that opportunity. We've spoken to a few people, and I think that's the exercise that perhaps a lot of people miss out is that just taking a breath. Yeah. having those conversations, doing a bit of Googling. Other search engines are available.
DuckDuckGo. Firm favourite.
And just thinking about it and just writing it down, getting it out. So the amount of ideas that I think we've talked about, and suddenly we've remembered them, we put them on a bit of paper, because you can get excited and have all these ideas, but if you've not got anything written down and you forget about it, then potentially it's something you could miss out on, isn't it?
And the bit of paper has evolved to a Google Sheet.
Yep, Google Sheet.
So we are online.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important to know we've paid out for a domain name, a hosting for the website.
Yep.
So there's now just a landing page. We did the Instagram and Facebook. So actually, because I think so many people come to us and at Breakout and they're like talking about money, investment, what they're going to have to pay for. At the moment, that's really all we've paid out for, to put it out there and get it going. We don't need lots of clunky software to do a to-do list. So we've had notes. Liam gets a lot of voice notes from me.
Happy to receive the voice notes. They're good fun.
This morning was 6:30 in the morning, so I always apologise because I forget people might have notifications on. But yeah, just Google Sheets. So we've got Google Sheets with several tabs of what we need to do, what we need to buy, what we need to consider. So it's
not glitzy and glamorous, is
no.
It? It's not something we've paid £1 million for.
And I think some people get sucked in to, I need this software. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need an accountant. I'm going to need a website designer. I'm going to need that
all at once. And
you really don't. So I think probably the most we've spent out is about 150 quid so far on this.
I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned that we did pay for was the creating of the company as well. So like there's a small charge.
Company's House, £13.
£13 or something like that. Not very big, but it's just securing that name, securing that that registration and getting the ball rolling there. But it's thinking, what can you do now without spending any money?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the biggest thing that businesses say why they go out of business is because they run out of cash.
Yeah.
And I know, like, one of my excuses before I took the leap into doing what I did was, I don't really have the money to
can't afford it
to do that. But you don't have to buy everything all at once. No. You can grow into it and have that aspiration to move up and move on.
Yeah, and we've had a meeting with one of the photographers of what would they recommend, what would they suggest we have, and she said a lot of the stuff they bring their own.
Yeah,
they'd all bring their own.
I must admit, I got a bit excited and was spending a fortune in my head, like, that would be nice. Oh, that would be nice. Oh, look at that. That would be brilliant. But actually,
state-of-the-art equipment.
What our photographer said was like, let's go strip it back.
Yeah.
What you need is the basics. And then, as we get more successful, we get a bit more money, then perhaps we can move on to some of the more elaborate things that I've clearly got sucked into.
And I think it's important to note that Liam found a couple of YouTube videos and groups about creating a content space.
Yep.
Which I think you wouldn't know of unless you looked for. So there is free help and advice out there. So whatever business you're starting, in your niche, in your area, whatever the product is, there will be stuff out there. Someone's done it before. Yeah. There's very, very few things where someone hasn't done it at all. So that content is out there to look and get an advice from. The other thing is important to note, the reason we had to pay Company's House was because we've set up as limited. Now, one of the things with setting up, obviously starting a business is a massive risk, and you've got between being self-employed and limited. Tax-wise, pretty much there or thereabouts, like how you can manage it, whether you want to make loads of money or how you want to do it in terms of paying tax. There's not much how you work or how you charge. However, limited, you take that element of risk away, which because we will be renting a building, if worst case scenario, something happens and we can't afford our rent and we have to fold the company, the onus and the money is on that company.
Yeah.
important to note as well, Liam and I know each other through businesses together and me starting a podcast. I have a lot of people come in about related friendships, how they're starting a business together.
Yeah.
If I had someone quite recently in, she wanted to start a business with her friends and they were talking about being self-employed. And I was like, that's great. But when you pay out for stuff, how are you paying out it? How are you splitting that? How are you splitting your expenses? You can go down the partnership route, which is quite difficult. However, if you take, yes, it's more money for your company accounts to be filed, but if you're limited and then you agree how much you're splitting that, then it's easier and you've taken the risk away.
I think there's a bit of so interesting that you mentioned the partnership as well, because that is it's almost like an option that's a step up from being self-employed, isn't it? Saying that you're in with a partner. But I have heard some horror stories with partnerships, and I don't know if you've come across any, but
only recently, it's really difficult to get a bank account, apparently.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've never known that, but a lot of banks won't give partnerships bank accounts.
Oh.
Randomly.
I mean, the story that I've heard is that the partners were in it together, and then because it's a partnership, they've got equal rights to that money. And then, again, I don't know this from actual experience, just an example that I've heard. But then one of them has decided they've had enough, picked all the money out the business account, done a runner, but technically because they're partnerships, legally they've got a right to have taken that money, but they've left the other partner in the lurch.
Enjoy.
And it's not anyone a first-hand experience or anything like that. Yeah. But I think that just having it as limited, it just protects, like you say, any risk that we take on.
Yeah.
It's all calculated risk, and we're confident that it's going to do well. But actually, there is that layer of protection. I know that's certainly something my wife has said to me. It's this isn't going to take us under, isn't it? It is a limited company that we are doing it the right way. So.
Yeah, and rightly or wrongly, you can fold a company tomorrow, disappear and write everything off.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with that, I don't, or not. That is something that can happen if you get into that much debt. The flip side of that, or not the flip side necessarily, is the other side is having those conversations up front of right, okay, our bill's going to be met rent. How are we splitting that? Actually, the income is, so like we've just said, dry hire. How does that? Well, that pays the bills, so that's split. If you're doing a podcast, but you want the expert coming in, well, the expert is Liam, so the money goes to Liam because he's the expert. We do a training course and Liam's leading it. That's Liam. If training course and I, so we've worked out already up front how that money's going to be split, so everyone knows where they stand.
Absolutely.
I think I have a lot of people come in and they've not had those conversations.
Yeah.
And I think as being British, we're not great at talking about money.
No, yeah.
And finances and pricing and asking for money. Yeah. I know some people who are absolutely brilliant at it. I'm very much oh no, I'll do that for free. Don't you worry, I'll pay with peanuts. I've got me magic beans for me rent, it'll be fine.
Yeah. So of course I'll do you a favour.
We can pull a cow out for
Yeah. I'll go foraging for me tea tonight.
Yeah, exactly, it's fine. But it is really, really important, because at the end of the day, it's great starting a business alone and you can do that and it's fine. But as well, one of the reasons we started Breakout, you can then sit with people and bounce off ideas. So we're kind of that external team around people. But still, it's why we've got some bespoke besties now, because we're part of their team, we're part of their business.
Yeah.
They pay us a monthly fee, but actually, if you look at anything else, it's all them, it's their business. So it's that, what's the word? Not consulting, the other one
Collaboration?
No. Don't know, it'll come back to me.
Okay.
It's how my brain works. But you're outsourcing, that's the thing. So you're outsourcing what you're not great at. Whereas we've both got the idea, we both know how it's going to work. We're very clear on the
structure,
the concept and the structure of how it's going to play out. So, and pretty much just 99% of the time, we agree and we've got the same thoughts of how it's going to work anyway, which I think is really important, because I think with any business relationship you go into, you both need to know how it's going to work and how everything's going to fit in.
I think it's been open to having those honest conversations, like what you're saying about being terribly British, how most people are perhaps feeling something inside, or like aren't sure about something. I know
we don't talk about feelings, surely.
Yeah, but like even just like a question, even if it's I used to be an assessor, so I did an element of training and stuff, and I used to say to the students, there's no such thing as a silly question.
Yeah.
There's, if you're thinking of that question, I'm sure somebody else sitting in the room is thinking that question.
Yeah.
But it's the same with this as well. Like if I'm not sure about something, I know I've asked you a million things, whereas you'll be like, oh, it just works like this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm benefiting from your experience, and it's cleared it up in my head instead of me sitting there thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It was nice and easy. So, this has been the first kind of conversation that we've had about the space and releasing it to...
And the first it will go out publicly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because at the moment our Instagram account is very much a logo and I think one post at the moment, but when we are posting a bit more, it's going to be a bit more of a faceless account, so it's not necessarily branded up to one specific person.
Well, and it's not about us. Ultimately, the plan is it's about the space and what you can do in the space and how you can use the space, and I think that's really important.
Yeah,
it's not. Obviously, I started Breakout and my face is on it. You started Record and Repurpose and your face is on it.
When I post.
So when when it's Feast and Famine posts go out. So this is all about the space. So it's the first time it will be us having a conversation about it. So the idea is if we'll do catch up with us, so we'll do an episode at least once a month. Yeah. Next time we'll have the keys, we'll have done a bit more.
Show you about a bit.
We've got a whole shopping list, and hopefully it will be recorded in the new podcast studio.
Yeah, that is the plan. But make sure you subscribe to check in with us, and if you got any questions about the space,
or know anyone who might make use of the space or be interested, please share the information. Everything, all the links will be in the show notes, website, social media.
Yeah, and otherwise, looking forward to catching up with you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business or even their small business, which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode, which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.